Let me tell you something straight. Words matter. Not just what's said, but how it's said when it's said and the weight it carries. Because sometimes a single sentence will tell you everything you need to know about a man's character. And if you ignore it, you'll pay for it later. So today, I'm going to give you 5 things, 5 red flag statements that when a man says them to you, you don't argue, you don't debate, you don't second, guess you walk away immediately. When a man looks at you and says, "You're overreacting," you need to pay attention. Because that little phrase, it's not just about the moment, it's about his mindset. Think about it. When you share how you feel, when you open up, when you're vulnerable enough to put your emotions on the table, that's not weakness. That's trust. That's honesty. And the last thing you deserve in that moment is for someone to minimize it and tell you it doesn't matter. But that's exactly what's happening when he says you're overreacting. He's not listening to you. He's trying to shut you down. Now, let me make something clear. We all have moments where emotions run high. We've all said things in the heat of frustration or anger. But there's a big difference between someone saying, "Hey, I don't really understand why this upsets you. Can you help me?" and someone saying, "You're overreacting." One is a doorway to understanding, the other is a wall. And when a man builds walls instead of bridges, he's showing you who he really is. Because what he's actually saying is this: your feelings don't matter as much as my comfort. He doesn't want to deal with the responsibility of your emotions. So he tries to make you feel guilty for having them. That's called gaslighting. And here's the danger with gaslighting. It makes you question yourself. You start asking, am I too sensitive? Am I making a big deal out of nothing? Maybe I should just let it go. But the truth is, you're not crazy and you're not overreacting. Your feelings are your reality. And if they matter to you, they should matter to the person who says he cares about you. The moment you let someone convince you your emotions are too much, you start shrinking yourself. You stop speaking up. You bottle things in. And soon enough, you're walking on eggshells, afraid to bring anything up, because you already know what the response will be. And let me tell you something, love should never make you feel small. Love should never make you feel like your voice doesn't count. A man who values you will value your feelings. Even if he doesn't understand them, he won't always get it right. He won't always have the perfect response, but he'll try. He'll lean in instead of push you away. Because respect isn't about agreeing with everything. It's about acknowledging it, honoring it, and being willing to work through it together. So when a man tells you you're overreacting, it's not just about that one argument or that one conversation. It's a red flag waving in your face saying, I'm not going to make space for your emotions. And if there's no space for your emotions, there's no space for you. Period. You can't build a relationship on silence. You can't build it on dismissal. And you definitely can't build it on the idea that one person gets to decide which feelings are valid and which aren't. At the end of the day, you deserve someone who sees your heart as something to protect, not something to dismiss. You deserve someone who understands that your emotions aren't a problem to fix, but a part of you to respect. And if the man in front of you can't do that, then he's not your man. So remember this: when you hear the words, "You're overreacting," don't argue, don't explain, don't try to prove your feelings are real. They are real. And the fact that he can't see that, that's all the proof you need. Walk away. When a man says, "If you really loved me, you would," you need to stop right there and recognize what's happening. Because love is not a bargaining chip. Love is not a tool to be used as leverage. The second someone attaches conditions to it, the second they turn it into a test you have to pass, it's no longer about love. It's about control. Think about that sentence for a moment. If you really love me, you willed. Do you see what's built into it? It's telling you that your love isn't good enough as it is. It needs to be proven in the exact way he wants it. That's not love, that's manipulation. Real love is freely given, not demanded. Real love doesn't come with ultimatums. Here's the truth. The person who truly loves you is going to respect your boundaries. They're going to honor your no just as much as they honor your yes. But the person who says this phrase isn't looking for love, they're looking for compliance. They want to see how much you're willing to bend, how far you're willing to stretch, and how much of yourself you're willing to give up just to keep them satisfied. And if you're not careful, that's how you lose yourself. Because every time you give in to that kind of pressure, you're teaching them something. You're teaching them that your boundaries are negotiable. You're teaching them that your love can be guilt tripped into submission. And before you know it, their needs always come first. Their wants always outweigh yours, and you're left carrying the entire weight of the relationship. That's not partnership. That's imbalance. Love is not meant to feel like a test you can fail. It's meant to feel like safety. But when you're constantly being told, if you really love me, you would, what happens? You start doubting yourself. You start questioning, am I being selfish? Am I not giving enough? Maybe he's right. Maybe I need to do more. And that self-doubt becomes the leash he keeps pulling on. The more you question your worth, the tighter his control becomes. Let me tell you something. Real love doesn't manipulate you into sacrificing your peace, your dignity, or your values. Real love stands beside you, not above you. It never forces you into a corner where you feel like you have to prove yourself over and over again. Now, here's the catch. This phrase doesn't always come in the same form. Sometimes it sounds like, if you really cared, you'd answer my calls right away. Or, if you really loved me, you'd change this about yourself. Other times it's quieter, more subtle, but the message is the same. Prove your love by giving up a piece of yourself. Don't miss that pattern, because once someone learns they can twist love into a tool, they'll use it again and again. A healthy relationship is built on choice. Both people choosing every day to give love, not because they're forced to, not because they're threatened with guilt, but because they want to. That's the difference. That's what makes it real. So when a man tries to corner you with, if you really loved me, you would understand this. It's not your love that's being tested, it's his character. Because a man who truly loves you would never weaponize love to get his way. He wouldn't need to. And that's why the second you hear those words, don't try to argue, don't try to prove yourself. You don't need to prove what's already real. The fact that he's asking you to, that tells you everything. Walk away. When a man looks at you and says, you'll never find someone better than me, that's not love speaking. That's insecurity dressed up as arrogance. And the truth is, the moment he has to convince you of his worth by tearing down your options, he's already told you everything you need to know about who he is. A man who knows his value doesn't have to advertise it, and he certainly doesn't have to scare you into believing he's the best you'll ever get. Think about the weight of that statement. It's not just bragging, it's a threat in disguise. What he's really saying is, I don't believe you have the strength to leave me. I don't believe you'll see your own value. So I'm going to keep reminding you that you can't do better until you believe it yourself. That's not confidence. That's fear. That's desperation. And it's toxic. Because here's the reality. You can always find better than a man who disrespects you. You can always find better than someone who tries to keep you small so he can feel big. Better isn't about having more money, more looks, or more status. Better is about someone who makes you feel safe, respected, and valued. Someone who doesn't make you question your worth, but helps you see it more clearly. But when a man says this line, he's trying to play a dangerous game. He's trying to trap you in a mindset where you start believing that being with him is the best you'll ever do. And if you believe that, you'll settle. You'll tolerate behavior you shouldn't. You'll put up with disrespect, neglect, even mistreatment, because you've been conditioned to think there's no one else out there who will want you, who will love you, who will choose you. And that's exactly what he wants, to convince you that staying with him is your only option. Let me be clear, a man who truly values himself doesn't need to put you down to hold you close. He doesn't need to convince you he's the prize. He shows it through the way he loves, the way he listens, the way he respects you. He doesn't have to say, "You'll never find better." He makes you feel so cared for, so appreciated, that the thought doesn't even cross your mind. That's the difference between real strength and fake bravado. See, arrogance is loud because it's empty. Real confidence is quiet because it's full. When someone has to shout, "I'm the best you'll ever have," it's because deep down, they don't believe it themselves. And if he doesn't believe it, why should you? And here's where it gets dangerous. Over time, if you start to buy into that line, you begin shrinking your expectations. You stop holding him accountable. You stop dreaming of the kind of love you actually deserve because you've been convinced it doesn't exist. That's how manipulation works. It doesn't take your freedom all at once. It chips away at it until you don't even realize how trapped you are. But let me remind you of something important. You will always have options. You will always have the ability to choose better, even if that better starts with walking away and choosing yourself. Because no man who truly deserves you will ever need to convince you that he's the best. He'll prove it in the way he treats you. So when a man throws that line at you, "You'll never find someone better than me," don't let it scare you. Don't let it trap you. Recognize it for what it is, a confession of his insecurity. And when you hear it, don't argue, don't try to reassure him. Just understand that if he has to say it, he's already shown you he isn't. Walk away. When a man tells you, "That's just how I am, deal with it," what he's really saying is, "I don't want to change, I don't want to grow, and I don't care how my behavior affects you." And that right there is not strength. It's stubbornness. It's not authenticity. It's avoidance. Because the truth is, every single one of us has flaws. Every single one of us has patterns we need to work on. But the difference between someone who's worth building a life with and someone you need to walk away from is whether or not they're willing to do the work. Think about it. Nobody comes into a relationship perfect. We all bring baggage, we all bring habits, we all bring scars from our past, and that's okay. But when a man shrugs off his behavior and says, "That's just how I am," he's shutting the door on growth. He's telling you that he has no interest in becoming better for himself or for you. And if he won't grow, then the relationship won't grow. It will stay stuck exactly where it is, maybe even worse, because resentment will start to pile up. Now let's break down why this phrase is so dangerous. It sounds like honesty, doesn't it? It sounds like he's just being upfront, like he's saying, "I'm just being real with you." But the reality is, it's an excuse. It's a way of dodging responsibility. Instead of owning up to his actions, instead of saying, "You're right, I need to work on that," he uses this phrase to make you feel like you're the one with the problem for even asking. That's not honesty. That's laziness. Relationships require effort. They require compromise. They require two people who are willing to look in the mirror and admit, "I could do better." And let me tell you, the man who is truly strong, the man who is truly confident, is not the one who refuses to change. He's the one who says, "I'm not perfect, but I care enough about us to try." That's growth. That's humility. That's love. But when a man refuses to do that, when he throws up his hands and says, "Deal with it," what he's really saying is, "I expect you to carry the weight of my flaws while I sit back and do nothing." And that's not fair. That's not partnership. That's not love. That's selfishness. And here's the bigger picture. If you accept that line, if you let it slide, you're setting the stage for more of it. Today it's, "That's just how I am, deal with it," about his temper. Tomorrow it's, "That's just how I am, deal with it," about his disrespect. And before you know it, you're in a relationship where every red flag is excused away as his personality, And meanwhile, you're the one doing all the adjusting, all the compromising, all the sacrificing, until there's nothing left of you. You cannot build a healthy relationship with someone who refuses to grow. Because love isn't about staying the same, it's about becoming better together. And if he's unwilling to take that journey with you, then he's showing you he's not ready for real love. So remember this when a man tells you, "That's just how I am," deal with it. Don't fall for the illusion that it's honesty. It's not honesty, it's avoidance. It's not strength, it's weakness. And the last thing you want to do is build your life around someone who has no interest in becoming better. Walk away. When a man looks at you and says, "Nobody else would put up with you," that is not just a red flag, that's a direct attack on your worth. That sentence is meant to cut deep, to make you doubt yourself, to make you believe that you should be grateful for the bare minimum because nobody else would tolerate you. And I need you to hear me on this. That is not love, that is verbal abuse. Think about what's really happening in that moment. He's not just criticizing your behavior, he's attacking your identity. He's planting the seed that you're unlovable, that you're lucky he even stays, that your flaws are so unbearable that no one else would want you. And if you're not careful, that seed starts to grow. You start to believe it. You start thinking, maybe he's right, maybe I am too much, maybe no one else would love me like this. And once you start thinking that way, he's got you exactly where he wants you, dependent on him, afraid to leave, stuck in a cycle where his mistreatment becomes the standard. But let's flip that for a second. If a man says, "Nobody else would put up with you," what does that really say about him? It says he knows he's treating you poorly. It says he's fully aware that his behavior isn't loving, isn't kind, isn't respectful, and instead of changing it, he tries to convince you that no one else would ever treat you better. He's not confessing your flaws, he's confessing his own. That sentence is not a reflection of your value, it's a reflection of his failure to give you what you deserve. And here's the dangerous part, words like this can stick to you. Long after the fight is over, long after the relationship is done, those words can echo in your head. They can replay when you look in the mirror, when you meet someone new, when you think about your future. That's the power of verbal abuse. It doesn't just hurt in the moment. It tries to rewrite the story you believe about yourself. But let me remind you of the truth. The fact that someone would say something like that to you proves the opposite of what they're claiming. Because if you were really so unbearable, if you were really so impossible to love, he wouldn't be there. He wouldn't have stayed. He says, nobody else would put up with you. Because he wants to control you, not because it's reality. The reality is this: there are millions of people in this world who would love you, respect you, and cherish you exactly as you are. You are not hard to love. You are not too much. You are not unworthy. You simply gave your heart to someone who didn't know how to value it. And here's what you need to understand. Love never sounds like that. Love never makes you feel like a burden. Love doesn't tear you down to keep you around. Real love lifts you, builds you, and reminds you that you are worthy even on your hardest days. So when a man says, nobody else would put up with you, don't take it as a warning about yourself. Take it as a confession about him. Because what he's really saying is, I can't love you the way you deserve, and instead of admitting that, I'll try to convince you no one else can either. And when you see it that way, the answer becomes clear. Walk away. At the end of the day, all of these phrases, you're overreacting. If you really love me, you would. You'll never find someone better than me. That's just how I am. Deal with it. Nobody else would put up with you. They all point back to one thing: a lack of respect. And without respect, there is no relationship. Not really. You can call it love, you can call it loyalty, you can call it commitment, but if respect isn't there, what you actually have is control, manipulation, and fear disguised as love. Respect is the foundation. Respect is what makes love safe. Respect is what allows two people to disagree without destroying each other. It's what makes space for emotions, for growth, for mistakes, for forgiveness. Without it, everything else crumbles. Because love without respect turns into possession. Commitment without respect turns into obligation. And passion without respect turns into chaos. That's why I want you to hear this clearly. You should never have to beg for respect. You should never have to explain why you deserve it. You should never have to convince someone to give it to you. If a man cannot give you respect freely, without conditions, then he cannot love you in a way that's healthy or safe. It really is that simple. And here's the thing. When a man says one of these phrases to you, he's telling on himself. He's showing you the truth, even if you don't want to hear it. Those words are not accidents. They're not slips of the tongue. They're windows into how he really sees you and how he plans to treat you. And if you ignore those warning signs, then the words will eventually turn into actions. What starts as dismissing your feelings becomes full-blown gaslighting. What starts as a manipulative, if you really love me, turns into you giving up piece after piece of yourself until you don't even recognize who you are anymore. What starts as arrogance about being the best you'll ever have turns into you feeling trapped and believing it. What starts as deal with it becomes years of tolerating behaviors that chip away at your peace. What starts as nobody else would put up with you becomes the reason you stay, even when your heart is breaking. But you don't have to stay. You don't have to accept words that tear you down. You don't have to build your life on a foundation that will only crack under you. Because respect isn't optional. It's not extra. It's not something you earn by proving your worth. It's the baseline. It's the bare minimum. And the right man will know that. The right man will give that to you without hesitation. He won't use your feelings against you. He won't weaponize love. He won't try to shrink you. He won't make you feel small just so he can feel big. He'll see you, he'll value you, and he'll treat you like the partner you are, not the project he can control. So when these words show up in your relationship, don't explain them away. Don't excuse them. Don't tell yourself it was just a bad day or a bad mood. Believe them for what they are, warning signs. And the moment you recognize them, the moment you feel that sting in your chest, that's your signal, that's your clarity, that's your answer. Walk away,